What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to a special video. This video is going to be a pretty awesome video, hopefully. You read the title. I attempted the hardest drawing I've ever done, ever, for my skill level. And yeah, I obviously recorded all of it, and I would like to share how I felt and how it went. So that is what we're doing. That is what I'm gonna do, obviously. And yeah. So just to quickly start off, you can see I have my phone on the left there. That is the initial sketch I did. I was at work, and sorry guys, I gotta interrupt for a second here. If you guys could leave a like or comment on the video if you get something out of it, it really helps a lot. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say, and back to the video. And I got this kind of cool compositional idea in my head, so I just pulled out my phone and I quickly sketched it out for later. So that's what that is. And yeah, right now I'm just getting the basic shapes in and getting the perspective down. So while I'm doing that, the reason why this kind of drawing was the hardest for me is basically it's pretty much combining everything I've been studying ever into one drawing. And what I mean by that is it has elements of perspective, compositional elements, multiple characters, background, inking, which I've almost never done up until this point. So yeah, I was very intimidated, honestly, and anxious going into it. But I mean, I did it anyways because I told myself, I gotta do it at some point. And spoiler, it didn't really turn out great in my opinion. And it did not turn out as well as I wanted it to, but I did finish it, and I am happy that I did finish it. So yeah, I'm just going to finish laying out the characters here. And on this last character on this building I'm drawing right now, by the way, it's Sue from MHA. I struggled real hard drawing Sue on this building right here. I've never drawn a character kind of interacting with the environment in this kind of way, so I ultra struggled hard, and you're gonna see later me struggling a lot. This drawing was a huge struggle, guys, like ultra struggle. And by the way, if you are curious, this drawing did take around 3 hours in total, from start to finish. So yeah, I'm speeding up all these clips by like 6 times the speed, so otherwise this video would be insanely long. But yeah, so now I'm just kind of going in, laid out my basic shapes, and I'm just going in and doing the initial sketch. This is probably not the hardest part, but it was definitely tough because this I'm not really the greatest at drawing characters at this angle, and especially Bakugo is really hard for me to draw for whatever reason. So it kind of turned out a little crappy in my opinion, but doing it anyways. You can see I'm like kind of struggling. I took a lot of breaks because, like I said, I was extremely anxious, and this isn't even the hardest part. The hardest part is the inking for sure, because up until this point I really haven't inked really any drawing traditionally. So maybe I should have done some smaller drawings before I did this really big one. I did do like a little tiny bit of practice with inking on a different page, but yeah, I really haven't done any inking traditionally up until this point. And if you guys have seen some of my other videos, I did say that I wanted to get better at inking, so that's why I am inking. I feel like I've said inking a million times, but yeah, you know, you know, when you do really ambitious drawings like this, or for your skill level anyway, you know, obviously you should go into it with an optimistic like attitude, but you also need to kind of expect to not fail, but expect that the drawing isn't gonna come out good, probably. At least if you're me, because you know, I kind of knew that you know, it wasn't gonna come out how I wanted, but you know, you just gotta do it anyways. And it kind of leads into, I think if you want to be a good artist, you have to accept that you're going to make a lot of mistakes, and you're going to make a lot of drawings that aren't up to your expectations or just aren't good. But I mean, how else are you going to get there? You know, you gotta just kind of accept it. And instead of looking at it as like, oh man, I made a crappy drawing, or oh man, I failed at this drawing, you need to look at it as more of a learning experience, or a stepping stone to getting up to the level that you want to get at or get to. And I definitely struggled with that for a very long time. I wanted everything to look perfect. And I really wanted that instant gratification, but let me tell you, art works in like the exact opposite way our society works. You know, you want everything instantly, with, or as fast as possible, with the least amount of resistance. I don't know if you guys ever heard of I've heard of like the term or saying of path of least resistance. You know, more often than not, most people are going to take the path that is the least resistant to whatever they're trying to do. And people want instant results, and art is like the exact opposite. Everything comes slow. Progress isn't linear. It's going to be hard. You are going to trip along the way and make a bunch of drawings that you are not proud of or that are bad. And you just gotta, keep going. So I was kind of in that mentality, where I knew, like, okay, it's probably not gonna come out as good as I want it to, but I gotta finish it anyways, because I've always wanted to do drawings like this one, where it's multiple characters, a background, compositional stuff, and kind of just like a fully fledged drawing, if that makes sense. I don't know, I've really wanted to move out of like that, like one, typical drawing of like one character just in a white void with no background or really no context to it. And to say, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just kind of not what I want to be drawing. Or at least I don't want those kinds of drawings to be like the bulk of what I draw. So I was really happy about this drawing, that it's multiple characters all in one scene. And as you can see right now, I'm struggling here. Like, obviously it doesn't look that bad because it's all sped up, but you got to remember, these clips are sped up 6 times the normal speed. So yeah, looking at how often I'm drawing and redrawing Sue here should give you an idea of how much I struggled drawing Sue. So alright guys, and I am back, and I've started inking. I skipped inking Deku because Deku is actually the easiest one to ink, and this video is already extremely long. If you've made it this far, comment lettuce. Let me know, so I can see if anyone actually makes it this far. But anyways, yeah, so the inking stage, oh yeah, this was extremely difficult for me because I've never really inked a drawing before, to be honest, at least to this scale. And I was extremely anxious and afraid of messing up, which I did a lot. But ultimately, at some point I was just like, this drawing looks pretty bad, so I don't really care how it turns out. So I basically was like, that might have actually been a good thing, because I don't think I would have finished the drawing if I was so heavily invested in it like I was at the beginning. I told myself pretty much if I was able to pull this drawing off to a certain level, this would easily be my best drawing ever. And I think it's definitely my best traditional drawing ever. But digital, probably not. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still extremely happy I finished it. Tons and tons of mistakes, but I think I learned a lot from it. And the best part about finishing an ambitious drawing is that now that you did it once, every other time is going to be easier. Or at least you're going to be more familiar with it. Because like I said, up until this point, I've never done a drawing like this before, especially traditionally. I told myself that I wanted to break out of that, drawing one character in the void with no background and no context or whatever. I wanted to break out of that, and I did. And that's something to be proud about, and regardless of if the drawing turned out good or not. I'm just continuing here to do the inks, and I really like microns. If you guys, I think it was my last video, I said that I was going to be inking more with microns, and look where I'm at, inking more with a micron. I wish that it could be the deep black you get with like a G pen ink, or like the India ink that I have, but I can't use it on this sketchbook because it like what's the word, it like frays everywhere, so it makes it really hard to ink with that, unfortunately. Otherwise I'd be using a G pen, but I like microns, so it's not that big of a deal. I definitely should have used more reference. That was for sure. I did use reference, obviously, not for any of the poses, but just so I got the characters' outfits and ideas for how to make unique buildings. So there is that. But yeah, moving forward, I'm definitely gonna be doing more kind of like big drawings, I guess, like these. I am really proud that I did actually finish this to this degree, because there was a huge period where I never thought I'd really get to this kind of stage with art, and I kind of feel like I broke through. If you guys have ever like looked into like stocks, you know how people say there's like the resistance line or whatever, I feel like I broke through that resistance line and I made a new one. If that makes any sense. But yeah, coming up with finishing the base ink, and oh yeah, we're inking Sue here. So yeah, as you can see, drawing small is a skill of in itself, bro. That is a big thing I've learned. If you can draw small well, you're a good artist, because it is so hard to draw and ink an extremely small drawing traditionally, because there's no zoom. There's no zoom. I had no idea how blessed I was to be able to zoom in, because you try drawing a small drawing and inking it, it is like max tier difficulty art. So yeah, I really struggled with Sue, and like I said, at this point I kind of gave up on whether the drawing looked good or not, and I was just like, I just want to finish it, because, and I, as you can see, I also messed up my paper on the right there while I was erasing, so that's cool. But yeah, drawing, that's like the big takeaway I learned, is drawing small is really hard. I need to learn how to ink better. Obviously I can't beat myself up too much, because this is like my first time doing it in this kind of manner, and I definitely need to use more reference for like how to draw certain things on certain characters, and I suck at drawing hands, which is why I made next month's goal, or well, by the time this video goes up it will be April, so I made April's goal to get better at drawing hands. So, and that's the cool thing about doing drawings like this. You learn where you struggle, right? And you just use that as your next goal. Like, you just use that to set your next goal, right? I learned that I'm not really the greatest at inking or drawing hands, so guess what? I'm gonna be drawing a bunch of hands. If you guys were in my last live stream, we drew a bunch of hands. So yeah, we're gonna be drawing a bunch of hands. I'm gonna be and I'm going to be inking a lot more for the foreseeable future, and studying that as well. And that's why you got to do these kinds of ambitious drawings, you know? You got to see where you struggle so you can pick, you know, your next pathway forward. So that's kind of, and that kind of goes back into the whole mentality thing I was talking about at the beginning of the video. It's important to break out of your comfort zone, because how are you gonna grow if you keep drawing the same thing over and over and over and over again? Yeah, you'll improve at it, but how are you gonna grow as an artist if you never try anything ambitious, or, you know, break out of that comfort zone? You know what I mean? So yeah, we are coming up to the end here, or kind of close to the end. I will be very surprised if anyone even watches this far. This is by far my longest video. I wanted to keep it shorter, but the drawing took so long that even sped up almost 10 times, I couldn't. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this and, you know, got something out of it, let me know. You know, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and do all that stuff. And I hope you guys learned something. I definitely did. I learned that, dang, I suck at inking in hands. Jesus. But yeah, with that, I think I'm going to head out. Thank you guys for watching, as always. And I definitely want to do more live streams, because that live stream I did was really fun. So yeah, with that, coming up to the end here, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.